On July 24th, LeBron James made his final decision in his NBA career, and he's taking his talents to the Philadelphia 76ers. This will have him team up with Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, Jaylen Brown, and VJ Edgecombe to create what many believe is a super team. I think that this will be an extremely fun team, but I think that there's a lot of question marks that they have to answer, and I'm quite skeptical about a few things in how the team is built, and I want to talk about those today. Getting right into it, I believe that this team does not have enough guys who are going to be getting significant minutes that really do the dirty work. I think there's something to be said for teams that are able to offensive rebound really well, force turnovers on the defensive end, and do all of the little things that win you games in a playoff setting. If we look at LeBron individually, his lineups in the past have been quite poor offensive rebounding wise. He's also getting up there in age in a basketball sense. He's 41 years old. He's not going to be able to do all of the hustle stuff on a day to day basis. Once it comes to the playoff time, I'm sure he'll ramp it up in some capacity, but will he be able to do it every second night for 2.5 months? I don't know. Embiid's in a similar situation. He hasn't been known to be a hustle guy throughout his career, and he's had the injury history as well. But the thing going for him is that in the last Olympics, he took a smaller role to be the hustle center that the USA needed. So I'm much more likely to believe that he can show some of this stuff come playoff time as well. For Jaylen Brown, I know he has that in him. He's going to have to get back to doing some of the things that he did early in his career with Boston to get on the court. And now I'm not saying that he's going to be fully a hustle and defense guy. There's still going to be times when he's asked to be the main creator on the court, and I'm sure that he will still average a large amount of points. But it's a situation where he is one of the best defensive and off ball options that the team has. So it may be in the team's best interest for him to take a smaller role so he can star in one of those smaller roles. And as for who's going to be their dirty work guy in the starting lineup, I think it really has to be VJ Edgecombe. He's shown the signs of it in his rookie year. He was third in the league in loose balls recovered. He was in the 96th percentile for deflections, with Maxi in the 95th percentile, which shows some good things from the backcourt. And VJ's impact on offensive rebounding, according to Data Baller, is in the 90th percentile, showing that his positional size and tenacity to go towards the offensive rebounds has a positive impact on his team. Similarly to the dirty work side, I think there's also an on ball defensive issue with the 76ers as well as turnover creation as a whole. The 76ers were 17th in defensive rating last season, and they're losing Paul George and Kelly Oubre, two guys who would usually take the difficult matchups for this team last year. They're also bringing in LeBron to the starting lineup, as well as Jaylen Brown, Anthony Simons to run the bench unit. These are all guys who, in the past number of years, haven't been known to be elite defensive talents, particularly taking on one matchups. It cancels out a little bit with the signings of Dean Wade as well as Contavious Caldwell Pope, but these players aren't in the starting lineup and probably won't be seeing anywhere close to 30 minutes a game. And that's my main issue with all of this, is that the team has five guys who are going to be needed close to 35 minutes a game come playoff time. And you're going to want to get Dean Wade or a KCP in there, but it's going to be difficult to have them in there for long stretches at a time to guard one of the best players on the other team. And we've seen in the playoffs this past year that all of the top teams have a guy that they can rely on to just stick on the opposing team's best player, and they can be quite happy with the results. Think Steph Castle with the San Antonio Spurs. He was doing it all playoffs long. Lou Dort, as well as Kaysen Wallace, were doing it in Oklahoma last year. They still have Kaysen. And then the Knicks have someone like OG Anunoby, who they can literally throw on anybody. The 76ers right now do not have that, but they're going to need someone like VJ Edgecombe to at least show some of those qualities next year. My last point is now completely on the other side of the ball. I don't believe that the 76ers will have any issue with their shot creation, but I do believe that there's a bit of a shooting and spacing issue that many people are kind of glossing over. First of all, LeBron hasn't been a spacer for his entire career. He's had seasons where he shoots quite well from three, but then others where he doesn't shoot that well. His on ball percentage was one of the lowest in his career last season, but he still wasn't able to get to the rim. Less than 30% of his field goals were from within 0 to 3 feet, showing that he's been asked to be a spacer more. And when he was in that role, he only shot 32% from three. Jaylen Brown is in a similar boat. He has a high level mid range game and is really good with the ball in his hands, but over the past 5 seasons, he hasn't shot above 36% from three. He also doesn't have the quickest release, which, when you have a guy off ball who is supposed to be the one to space, you can kind of come off of him a little bit more as you don't have to close out as fast as someone who has a quicker release. The positive signs for this is one, he probably won't have the ball in his hands as much and it will get back to a role that he was more used to early in his career and was able to shoot very well. He's also been in the lab with Lethal Shooter all summer, and we know he has a very good track record with turning players around in their shooting. I remember Grayson Allen had the best shooting year of his career a number of years ago and has progressed even more as of recent, similar with Bobby Portis. And I think that this will be a big swing skill for how valuable Jaylen Brown is for this team next year if he can be a real catch and shoot threat for them. Embiid is another funny case. His three-point volume has been up as his career has went on, and this seems to be as he's gotten injured more, he's trying to stay away from the basket as much as he can. But the issue with the lack of rim pressure that he's had in the last couple of years means that the looks that he is getting from outside are a bit tougher. It can sometimes be a settled pick and pop in the deep mid range or three where he jabs a couple of times, looks for something to happen, and then he just ends up taking one late in the clock. So I obviously trust Joel Embiid's touch because he has some of the best touch for a big man in the league. I would just like to see him get a few more clean looks where he's not thinking about it as much in the upcoming year. Edgecombe had some good signs as a rookie, high free throw shooting percentage, as well as getting a high volume of threes up, bodes well for the future. A lot of his shots were coming from above the break. I assume that more of them will be coming from the corner this year. Last season, he shot a very low volume of corner threes. From the right corner, he shot about 52% on a low volume, mind you. But the left corner was a very different story, only 28%. Likely neither of these numbers are the true number of what he would shoot over a career, probably somewhere in between. And the guy I'm not worried about at all shooting wise is Tyrese Maxey. I think he's going to benefit so much from everyone else on the team being on the court. When he didn't have to be the primary creator at all times when James Harden was on the team, he was one of the highest efficiency three-point shooters in the league, and a lot of this was coming from off ball. His percentages have went down in the most recent years, but this is mostly due to him having to take a lot of off the dribble self-created shots. And I think that as he has to create less this season, the percentages are going to keep going up and the volume's probably going to stay the same. Now, up until this point, a lot of the conversation has been looking at the negatives of these players and the things I'm questioning. But I also think there's a lot of things that could go right for the 76er squad that could make them a very scary team for anybody in the league. If we're looking at best case scenarios, I think that VJ Edgecombe could turn into a do-it-all superstar, except the scoring aspect. If he can take on that role for 1 or 2 seasons while they're in this championship window, I think that he could be the difference in this team being a really fun team and one that can truly contend with anyone in the league. I think that JB is also going to have to sacrifice in some capacity. It's going to mean less on-ball duties, more off-ball shooting, which should improve his efficiency as well, and then also take more of a role on the defensive end to take those bigger wings that VJ Edgecombe may get overwhelmed by. I don't buy into LeBron being the point guard for this team. I think that that's still going to be Maxey. But if LeBron can be a very good connecting piece between all of these different top tier players that they have, I think that would be a very successful year for him. If he can be a serviceable spacer whatsoever, I also think that would be huge for this team come playoff time. It sounds like a lot of the same, but I don't think Embiid's going to have to do as much as he has in past years. I'd like to see him take more open jump shots and not wait until it's a one-on-one against the defender. I know it's a difficult ask at this point in his career, but I also would like to see Embiid get back to being an around the rim big who really imposes his will on smaller defenders. I think that's such an not underrated part of Embiid's game, but something that maybe he doesn't even understand he is so good at. But if when the game slows down and they can give him the ball in the low post and he can just go to work on basically any defender in the league, I think that's going to be extremely valuable for the 76ers. Maxey's the one guy I don't want to see take any less shots. Maybe I want to see him take even more. I want him to continue the creation that he's had in the past number of years, getting downhill at will to the rim. I think his playmaking is going to be even better this year when the defense is going to have to collapse so far and he finds different people on the perimeter, particularly when a KCP is in the lineup. I'd like to see how they mesh together. But then also when someone like LeBron who has the ball in his hands, I'm very excited to see how Maxey moves without it, how he can create shots with just his gravity alone. Something that we haven't been able to see too much as he's had the ball in his hands so much. And for the bench guys, particularly Wade, KCP, and Simons, I think that they really need to star in their roles this season. That means that when there's a game that they only play 12 minutes, they really lock into the defensive end and show the energy that they can provide. But there's also going to be games when they're asked to play close to 30 minutes when a lot of the other guys are injured or are load managing. This can be when they step up the offense and they need to be ready to take more shots in these games. The same can be said for Barlow and Bona, who are also going to be asked on certain nights to play bigger roles. LeBron and Embiid are likely going to not play back-to-back games, so both Bona and Barlow are going to be asked on certain nights to play a lot. I think if they can show the offensive rebounding hustle, defensive playmaking, getting the energy plays, I think they could be a big role for this team in the regular season and then have big moments for the team come playoff time. And then for Phylon, if he can show anything as a rookie, if he gets in at certain points in the season, gets some extended run and shows some creation ability, I think that's a positive in any way. As for what I think this team can do, I think that this team can be one of the most exciting combination of superstars that you could ever have on a court at one time, and it's going to be must-watch basketball. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for all of these guys to mesh and realize what each of them has to do to contribute to winning in the best possible way. But once this clicks and Nick Nurse figures out a system that works perfectly for all of these players, I think it's going to be a very scary team come playoff time. I don't know if they'll be seeded too high in a really stacked Eastern Conference, but if you're a 1 or 2 seed going up against them in the second round, I don't think that it's a team that anybody wants to see. And that's it for this video. I thank you very much for watching. Let me know if you have any differing opinions on any of these matters, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.